I used to think $30,000 was just a number. Not rich, not life-changing, not enough to retire, not enough to buy freedom, not enough to impress anybody. $30,000 does not make people stare when you walk into a room. It does not make banks roll out the red carpet. It does not make your friends suddenly ask you for investment advice. In fact, if you tell most people you saved $30,000, they will probably shrug and say, "That's good." Then immediately talk about someone who bought a new truck, someone who went to Dubai, or someone who just upgraded their kitchen. But what they do not understand is that $30,000 is not powerful because of what it can buy. It is powerful because of what it stops from happening to you. My name is Andres, and I want you to imagine two people who make the same income, live in the same city, drive similar cars, and work similar jobs. One of them has $300 left before payday. The other has $30,000 saved. On the outside, their lives might look almost identical. Same grocery store, same gas prices, same rent pressure, same annoying emails from work, same family obligations. But internally, they are living in completely different financial universes. The person with $300 is not just low on money. They are low on options. Every problem becomes urgent. A car repair becomes a crisis. A medical bill becomes a panic attack. A delayed paycheck becomes a disaster. A toxic boss becomes someone they have to tolerate. A bad deal becomes something they have to accept because they cannot afford to walk away. But the person with $30,000 saved experiences the same problems differently. The car repair is annoying, not devastating. The medical bill is frustrating, not life-destroying. The toxic boss is still toxic, but now there is space to breathe, apply elsewhere, negotiate, or leave carefully. That is the first thing that changes after you save $30,000. Life stops feeling like it has its hand around your throat. And that matters more than people admit. Most financial advice talks about money like it is just math. Save this percentage, invest this amount, avoid this interest rate, build this portfolio. And yes, math matters. But before money becomes math, money is emotional oxygen. When you have no savings, you are not calmly optimizing. You are surviving. You are making decisions under pressure, and pressure makes smart people do expensive things. This is why broke people often pay the highest prices. Not because they are careless, but because they are cornered. They pay overdraft fees because one bill cleared before one deposit arrived. They pay credit card interest because the emergency happened before the savings account existed. They take bad car loans because the old car died and they still need to get to work. They stay in apartments they hate because moving requires deposits, movers, time, and flexibility. They stay in jobs that drain them because quitting without savings feels like jumping off a roof and hoping there is a mattress somewhere below. $30,000 changes that because it creates a financial buffer big enough to interrupt desperation. And desperation is expensive. Let's say someone has no savings and their transmission fails. The repair is $4,000. If they cannot pay cash, they might use a credit card at a high interest rate, or take a personal loan, or delay the repair and lose work hours, or buy another unreliable car with terrible financing. The original problem was $4,000, but because they had no buffer, it becomes $6,000, $8,000, maybe $10,000 over time. The person with $30,000 still loses $4,000, which hurts, but the problem ends there. They pay it, rebuild, and move on. That is one of the hidden powers of savings. It does not just sit there. It prevents small problems from multiplying. It keeps a flat tire from becoming a missed paycheck. It keeps a dental issue from becoming a credit card balance. It keeps one bad month from becoming 2 bad years. And when you understand that, $30,000 stops looking like just cash. it starts looking like a wall between you and the financial traps designed for people who have no room to maneuver. The second thing that changes is how you see your job. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, your employer does not just pay you. Your employer owns your nervous system. Every meeting feels heavier. Every rumor of layoffs feels personal. Every unreasonable request feels like something you must swallow. You tell yourself, I'm being responsible, but deep down, you know the truth. You are scared because one interruption in income could wreck everything. That fear changes how you act. You do not negotiate as confidently. You do not push back when boundaries are crossed. You do not take time to find the better opportunity because you need the immediate one. But when you have $30,000 saved, even if you are not ready to quit, your posture changes. You can say, let me think about that. You can ask for a raise without sounding desperate. You can leave a job strategically instead of emotionally. You can take a calculated risk on a better role, a certification, a side business, or a move to a stronger market. This is why I call $30,000 walking away money. It may not let you walk away forever, but it lets you walk away from the worst version of your life. And sometimes that is the difference between staying trapped and building momentum. The third thing that changes is your relationship with banks and lenders. People think banks reward loyalty, but banks mostly reward risk reduction. When you have no savings, inconsistent cash flow, high credit utilization, or a history of missed payments, the financial system treats you like a risk, and risk gets charged more. Higher interest, worse terms, more fees, less flexibility. But when you have a stronger cash position, lower balances, and better payment behavior, you become a different type of customer. You may qualify for better loan terms. You may avoid unnecessary borrowing altogether. You may have the confidence to compare offers instead of accepting the first one. And this is where the psychological shift becomes financial. The person with no savings often asks, can I afford the payment? The person with $30,000 starts asking, is this deal actually good? That question alone can save thousands. Because the payment is where people get trapped. A car dealership can make a bad deal look comfortable by stretching the loan. A furniture store can make overpriced furniture feel harmless by dividing it into monthly installments. A phone company can make an expensive upgrade feel normal by hiding it inside the bill. But once you have real savings, you become harder to manipulate because you are no longer making every decision from a place of scarcity. You begin to see the total cost, not just the monthly pain. You begin to notice that affordable often means expensive, but slowly. The fourth thing that changes is your identity. This one is subtle, but it might be the most important. Saving $30,000 proves something to you that no motivational quote can prove. It proves that you can tell yourself no and survive. It proves that you can delay gratification. It proves that you can build something quietly that other people do not see. That matters because most people do not fail financially from one giant mistake. They fail from 1,000 small leaks. The extra subscription they forgot about. The food delivery habit that started as a convenience and became a lifestyle. The car upgrade they justified because they work hard. The vacation they could not afford but booked because everyone else was going. The shopping that felt like stress relief but created more stress later. Saving $30,000 forces you to become aware of those leaks. Not perfectly, not overnight, but gradually. And when you finally see the account hit $30,000, you are not just looking at money. You are looking at evidence. Evidence that you can be consistent. Evidence that you can build. Evidence that you are not the same person who used to spend every raise before it arrived. That identity shift is dangerous in the best way, because once you believe you can save $30,000, $100,000 no longer feels impossible. Investing no longer feels like something only rich people do. Ownership no longer feels like a fantasy. Financial independence no longer feels like a slogan. It becomes a path. Not an easy path, but a real one. The fifth thing that changes is how you handle opportunities. When you have no savings, opportunities often look like threats because they require upfront cost, patience, or uncertainty. A better job in another city sounds exciting until you think about moving costs. A training program sounds useful until you think about tuition. Starting a business sounds interesting until you think about the first months with no predictable income. Even investing can feel impossible because every dollar feels like it might be needed tomorrow. But with $30,000 saved, your brain has more space to evaluate opportunity. You can take the class that increases your income. You can buy the laptop that helps you freelance. You can move closer to better work. You can wait for the right job instead of grabbing the first available one. You can invest steadily without panicking at every headline. Money does not just buy things. Money buys timing. And timing is one of the most underrated advantages in life. The person with no savings must often act when conditions are bad. They sell when they are desperate. They borrow when rates are ugly. They accept jobs when they are exhausted. They move when they are forced. The person with savings can wait, compare, prepare, and choose. That is not luck. That is liquidity. And liquidity is quiet power. But here's the part people get wrong. The moment you save $30,000 is also the moment you become vulnerable to a new kind of mistake. You start feeling comfortable. You look at the account and think, I finally have breathing room. And because you have spent months or years being disciplined, a little voice says, I deserve something. And maybe you do. But this is where many people restart the cycle. They save $30,000, then use it as permission to finance a $50,000 car. They save $30,000, then upgrade apartments because they are tired of living modestly. They save $30,000, then start saying yes to every trip, every dinner, every gadget, every lifestyle upgrade that their old self could not afford. And within a year, they are back to stress, only now with better furniture. So you have to understand the purpose of the money before the money arrives. $30,000 is not a trophy. It is not a shopping signal. It is not proof that you can finally become reckless. It is your foundation. And foundations are not supposed to be exciting. Nobody walks past a skyscraper and says, wow, look at that concrete underground. But without that concrete, the entire building collapses. Your $30,000 is the concrete. It is the part nobody claps for, but it holds everything else up. So what should you actually do after saving it? First, separate your emergency fund from your opportunity fund. Not all savings have the same job. Some money is there to protect you from chaos. Some money is there to help you grow. If you mix those together, you will either become too scared to use money for opportunities, or too casual with money meant for emergencies. Second, keep your lifestyle boring for a while. I know that is not what social media wants to hear. Social media wants transformation to look visible. New car, new watch, new apartment, new wardrobe, new vacation. But the strongest financial transformations are often invisible at first. Same car, more cash. Same apartment, fewer worries. Same clothes, stronger balance sheet. Same lifestyle, bigger gap between income and expenses. That gap is where wealth is born. Third, start thinking in terms of systems, not motivation. Motivation helped you begin, but systems help you continue. Automatic transfers, separate accounts, clear investing rules, a debt payoff plan, a spending review once a month, a simple rule for raises, like investing half of every income increase before lifestyle inflation touches it. Because after $30,000, the question is no longer just, can I save? The question becomes, can I protect the habits that got me here? Fourth, do not tell everyone. I know that sounds strange, but visible financial progress can create social pressure. Suddenly, people have opinions. Someone needs help. Someone thinks you are cheap. Someone thinks you should upgrade. Someone wants you to invest in their idea. Someone wants to borrow money and calls it support. I'm not saying become cold or selfish. I'm saying protect your foundation. You can be generous without being financially exposed. You can help people without announcing your balance. Quiet progress is safer than public progress. There is a reason many truly wealthy people do not look wealthy. They understand that the more visible your money becomes, the more hands reach for it, including your own. Fifth, begin investing from strength, not panic. Once your emergency foundation is stable, the next chapter is making sure your future money does not depend only on your labor. Because saving alone protects you, but investing grows you. The goal is not to gamble or chase trends. The goal is to turn consistency into ownership. Broad market funds, retirement accounts, employer matches, taxable brokerage accounts, depending on your situation. These are the boring tools that can quietly turn today's discipline into tomorrow's freedom. But the key is that you are not investing because you are desperate to get rich quickly. You are investing because you are stable enough to think long-term. That difference matters. Desperate investing looks like chasing whatever just went viral. Stable investing looks like buying assets consistently and letting time do what excitement cannot. And this brings me to the biggest change of all. After you save $30,000, you start realizing that wealth is not about looking powerful. It is about needing less permission. You need less permission from your boss because you have savings. You need less permission from banks because you are not always borrowing. You need less permission from emergencies because you can absorb them. You need less permission from other people's opinions because you know what you are building. That is why this number matters. Not because $30,000 makes you rich, but because it makes you harder to control, harder to pressure, harder to scare, harder to sell bad deals to, harder to keep stuck. And for many people, that is the first real taste of financial freedom. Not yachts, not private jets, not luxury watches. Just the ability to sleep at night without calculating whether one surprise bill will ruin the month. The ability to say no without your stomach dropping. The ability to make decisions from strategy instead of fear. That is what changes. And I want to be clear. If you are nowhere near $30,000 right now, this is not meant to shame you. It is meant to show you the target. Maybe your first version is 1,000, then 3,000, then 10,000, then 20, then 30. Every step matters because every step buys back a little more control. Do not underestimate the first $1,000. That is where the identity shift begins. Do not underestimate the first time you pay for an emergency without borrowing. That is a victory. Do not underestimate the first month you do not feel crushed before payday. That is momentum. The financial world loves to make people feel behind, because behind people buy more things to feel better. But you do not need to impress the financial world. You need to protect your future self. $30,000 is not the finish line. It is the line where you stop being easy to push around. It is the line where you begin negotiating with life instead of begging it to go easy on you. It is the line where a problem can stay a problem instead of becoming a catastrophe. And once you feel that difference, it is very hard to go back. So the next time someone says, $30,000 is not that much, understand what they are missing. They are thinking about what it can buy. You are thinking about what it can block. It blocks panic. It blocks bad debt. It blocks desperation. It blocks rushed decisions. It blocks the version of you that had to say yes because no was too expensive. And that is why everything changes after you save $30,000. Not because the world suddenly becomes easy, but because for the first time, you are not standing in front of life with empty pockets and no shield. You have a shield now. And once you have a shield, you can stop flinching and start building.